everybody, and welcome to the ZAA Global Virtual Summit for 2020. I know it's been a long day, but it's been well worth it. We've had some amazing speakers come through. It's been a lot of exciting conversations that have been going on here. We've been talking about business, we've been talking about innovation. It's just a lot going on with Zimbabweans in the diaspora, and I'm excited for the next session because this is a bit more, it's a topic that everybody is interested in. Everybody loves music, so I'm sure people will learn a lot from this. Wanted to thank World Remit this and making all of this part. I want to thank Port High London and Fine and Country for also sponsoring the show and making sure that. Thank you for the team at CMG for the, a lot of hard work that's gone into putting all this together. And while we're at it, I'm going to call in the chairman of Zim Achievers through give a bit some. Good evening, Mr. Mwanza. Good to have you back.
Good evening. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Guys, we've had a very long day. It's been amazing. The engagement has been amazing. I want to first of all thank our panelists. We've got heavy hitters in the music industry. I am honored that you all agreed. You took time out of your busy schedule to join us today. It's such an honor. I also want to thank our sponsors, World Remit, Kudu Business Support, High Mount Construction, Fine and Country, for making this possible. But again, for those who are listening as well, who are taking time to actually listen to this, so thank you for your engagement. To follow the conversation, follow hashtag ZAA Summit, and you can find us on Zimbo Live, on Zim Achievers page, and on YouTube. It's a great engagement that we have today. But earlier on, we've had great sessions. We started with the business and leadership session in the morning. Great insight, and we hope a lot of people had a lot of takeaways. And then we had a very engaging youth session, amazing speakers there as well. And I add to what Tanya was talking about. Tanya Masiwa, who was one of our speakers, touched on the importance that if there is music, and this is not only applies to Zimbabwe, but perhaps even to Africa, but let's start with our country first. It applies within Zimbabwe. If an artist brings out music, we have to consume it. The more we consume that music, the more we buy it, we download, even if we don't like it. I remember even trying to talk to someone that we need, especially those who are in England, where I'm based, £10 a month. Just buying every month, just buying Zimbabwean music, that will go a long way. Imagine how many people we have around the world, and if you start consuming that music, you are creating our musicians to be rich so that they don't die poor as well, but you're also creating superstars. So that other record labels, people like, I know we've got an executive here in Sipo Dlamini who might share the insight onto record label. But guess what? The people who are going to make our musicians superstars are us. Nobody else. Nobody don't. So we'll be running on Davido. Davido is made a superstar by the Nigerians. Yes, they've got numbers, but we also have the economic power. So ladies and gentlemen, when we enjoy this session, we go through this session, it's important that as Zimbabweans, let's consume our music, let's consume our arts. It's down to us. Thank you for having me, and I will pass on to Tatenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mwanza. So, as you were saying, we're gonna get into this session. But before we do that, I'd like to bring on our moderator. He likes to call himself your favorite Moti, man of an industry. Mr. Munya, come through, my friend.
Good evening,
my friend.
Yes,
How are you doing? Oh?
I am excellent, thank you. How are you doing, Tati?
Great. I'm fine. I'm excited.
Nice.
I'm excited.
It's
I want to hear this. Yes.
Yeah. Music is a business, and that's what we're going to be delving into today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we want to hear what goes on. We see the glamour, we see the music, we see the performance. We want to know what goes into making it a business. So how do we make it work? How do you guys do it? We're here for it. We're here for it.
Awesomeness. And we are here to share as much as possible. So this is going to be fun.
Awesome. This is your stage, Munya. Go ahead.
All right. So I would just like to welcome everyone who's joined. Actually, let me do. There we go. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the ZAA Global Virtual Summit 2020. I will be your moderator for today, Munya Chinetsa, also known as your favorite Moti, where now Moti now stands for Master of the Industry, because I'm trying to create platforms where various different masters in their own right have a place to engage and share the knowledge that they have, because I feel that's what we lack that sometimes on our continent. But without further ado, yeah, we're going to be going into the business of music, delving into it a bit deep. We've got 2 hours, so there's going to be some time for us really to delve in. I've got some great panelists, and I'll also be partaking as well. And each panelist in their own individual right, they occupy a different space within the industry, so it's going to be very interesting to see the different sides from the label perspective, from an agency with providing various different artist services perspective, and from an artist perspective as well. So with that being said, I'm very excited and look forward. And ultimately, the way I'm going to look at doing it is, first I'd like to just do introduction one by one. I mean, I'll just name them one by one, and then I think we'll be pulling up each guest one by one, and we can just delve in a bit into who they are, what they do, their experience in the entertainment space, how they got to where they are, and various other things. And then we can delve into the structures in which they are actually functioning within. So with that being said, I would like to welcome, well, let me name the 3 guests. So the 3 guests tonight, we have Sipho Dlamini, who is the CEO of Universal Music Group, Africa and Sub-Sahara.
Hi, Munya. How are you?
I'm always good. How are you?
Very good, very good, and thank you for having us here. Thanks to the organizers of the summit. Excited to be here.
No, it truly is. It's a great platform just to, and I mean, COVID has done many things, but I'm sure you share the same sentiments that we spent a lot of camera time these days. Like,
yes.
This is the new normal.
Yes, it is.
Which is awesome. So what I'd like to, so just starting off, let's start off with the plain and simple is, who are you, sir? And what do you do?
Okay.
Where to start?
Where to start? My name is Sipho Dlamini. I'm Zimbabwean from Bulawayo. I've been blessed to live in the UK and in South Africa, where I'm based now, but also in between the different years, I've spent time working out of Dubai, spent time working out of Los Angeles, and it's all been music industry related. I'm currently the managing director or CEO for Universal Music Sub-Saharan Africa. So I look after all English-speaking markets in Africa. It's an amazing job. It's a lot of work. I think the biggest responsibility that we have is to take African music to the rest of the world, which is, one of the things that I'm very passionate about, because if we can help African artists earn revenue in foreign currencies, then what comes back is of more value than just what is earned locally. But establishing a good music industry ecosystem in Africa is very important in order to create livelihood for many people at home. That's who I am.
That is who you are. And
yes.
In terms of your journey within this music space, as in, what was the first step? I know we've engaged before, but I'm interested to know, because a lot of people, music, there's no real formula. You just
isn't.
You just end up in it, and you're just like, I'm here. So I'm just interested, and I'd just like you to share, just in terms of, how did you enter the space?
Yeah, I'll try and keep it short so that I don't bore people listening. But
I think 2 hours. We have 2 hours.
Okay. So the music journey for me started in the UK. So during my studies, coming out of A levels, going into varsity, we used to promote club nights in London, and we used to play music from Southern Africa. So in those days, it was called digong. It was before the Kwaito term even came about. We used to do club nights in London, in Coventry, in Portsmouth as well. And we used to hire clubs and I would DJ. Yeah, I would DJ. I would DJ music from Zimbabwe and from South Africa, and it was the stuff that people that were there studying would miss listening to. So
Yes.
it was a nice moment of bringing Southern Africans together, because then everybody would be reflecting. And it was in the days where we were still using cassettes and CDs, so there was no streaming services. So if you wanted to hear a CD or a song from Africa, somebody had to physically bring a CD from South Africa or Zimbabwe to the UK in order to play it. And I make that point because I think sometimes in these days we overlook how much technology has supported the travel of music, right? Because that barrier, that physical barrier, doesn't exist anymore. So it started from promoting club nights, and then we started doing shows. Myself and my cousins and friends from Zimbabwe, we set up a company called Buckwild Entertainment, and we would bring artists from South Africa and Zimbabwe to perform in the UK. We've done concerts with everybody from Mendoza, TKZ. In fact, TKZ, Boom Shaka, Oskido was the first show that we did. It was Boom Shaka, TKZ, DJ Oskido, Christos, and Vinny Da Vinci actually on the bill. And we did that in London. And I remember because people couldn't believe that we were actually going to bring those artists to the UK, we had to bring them in 7 days before. And we did house parties around the UK. So we did a house party in Manchester, a house party in just to show that they were there. We did a house party at Peter John, the football player, at his house in Coventry. He was still married to Sharon D at the time, and because that was the only way to get people to buy tickets before the show, because they just didn't believe that TKZ were there. We also, by the way, we shipped over, I think it was something like 25 crates of Castle beer, because at the time there was no Castle beer in the UK. So we brought these cans over and sold them at the show. Nice. And after that, it was we just kept doing it. So after that, we did did Mendoza, we did Arthur, we did Brenda Fassie, we did Oliver Mtukudzi. I think we even did a show at the time with Simon Chimbetu. I remember we even then did a run in the US where we took TKZ to the US, and we had Love More Jaivana opening as well, and we did that in Atlanta and then in Dallas in Texas. But like you said, there was no formula, there was no rules. We didn't, there wasn't a rule book to say this is how you do it. ABC. So there were times, I'm embarrassed to admit, we would have artists arrive. We didn't have work permits in the UK. So we would be like, they're coming over to do promo, or they're coming over for holiday, and hope that nobody would demand to see the work permits. But we got the job done.
That's all that matters.
And we made it happen, and it was an amazing experience. I remember the first show we did with Oliver Mtukudzi was at Stratford Rex in East London, and we sold out that show. And then one of my cousins, Dumisani Moyo, suggested that we do it at the Barbican Centre in central London. So that was a very upmarket and a very formal venue. And that also sold out. So then we began to realize that the demand for music from Southern Africa was not just about giving it to the audiences from Southern Africa. There was a wider audience that were interested in that music. Jump forward to a few years, I built up a really good relationship with TKZ. They asked me to move to South Africa and manage them and set up their record label for them. So I moved to South Africa, I think it was around 98, 99. We set up TKZ Records, which was a division within BMG Records for TKZ, and recorded and promoted their albums. And then early 2000s, I was approached by a company called Creative Kingdom Records USA. As a company out of Los Angeles that was forming a record label, and I joined them as vice president of operations. So under them, we opened up the office and recording studios in Johannesburg and Sandton. Then they asked us to open up an office in Dubai. So I moved to Dubai. We opened up an office and recording studios in the World Trade Center, another one in China, another one in Thailand, another one in the Philippines, and expanded the studio in LA for them. In I think it was 2006, I was approached by another company in Dubai called Center Stage Management. And they were a festival and concert production company. So they asked me to join them as VP of operations. So I joined them. With them, we did concerts in Dubai with G Unit and 50 Cent. We did Akon's first shows in Dubai. Fat Joe. We did Kanye West show at the time that he was going against 50 Cent on that competition as to who was the biggest. We did Ziggy Marley, we did Joss Stone, we did Mika, we did a number of very large concerts, and then we started branching out and doing them in South Africa as well. I actually missed a small phase though, because whilst we were doing shows in the UK, I was approached by Stan Bosch, who owned Circus nightclub in Harare, and he wanted us to do shows in Zimbabwe. So we actually brought Lost Boys and did a Lost Boys concert in Zimbabwe.
I remember that concert when it went down as well. I remember that.
Yeah. So that was the first international show that we did in Zimbabwe. Also, I did Soul for Real with Dr. Mbengegwi, who used to own Visions in Zimbabwe. So that was another international artist that we brought in. So that was all in the 90s. I'm sure there's a lot of people online who are too young to even remember any of that stuff.
I remember the time. That's when there was a debate between what's his name, Mr. Cheeks, whether he was from Zimbabwe or not.
Yes,
he had that one line where he did the shout out. I remember that very much so. Awesome.
Yeah, awesome. And even during that time, when Stan Bosch was running and operating Circus, we used to bring a lot of artists from South Africa to come and do club performances there. We brought Trompies, we bought TKZ as well, we bought Mendoza, we bought Arthur. So that was like a regular thing that we used to do on a monthly basis. But just like you said, there was no formula. None of this. Yeah. I never planned this journey, and I always say when people ask, how do you think these things happen? And I think my journey has been guided and led by God. And I am grateful for the opportunities that he's given me and for the blessings that he's allowed me to experience, because everything that I've done has prepared me for the next role that I've had. Right. So, yes, it can only be God. It can only be God. And even if I kind of jump forward to where I am now at Universal, the things that we've added into the business. So I joined Universal in 2016. At the time, Universal only had one office in Africa, in South Africa. We've opened an office in Nigeria in that time. I've also opened an office in Kenya, where we acquired the largest record label in Kenya. Sorry, we're about to open the office, but we've acquired the record label, and we're converting that into Universal Music in Kenya shortly. We've also added other elements onto the business that I experienced. So, for example, we have a live division where we promote our own concerts and festivals and events. So, for example, in December 2019, we partnered up with Skies FM in Bulawayo, and also with Salvin Entertainment out of the UK, actually. And we did Bulawayo Shutdown. So it was a concert in Bulawayo in December, where we had an amazing lineup of artists. So we also do live events, and we do them in Nigeria, in South Africa, and in other markets too. So, all the things that I've done before have kind of added to the things that I do now. I think I've said way too much, and sorry for
no. It's been enlightening, and it's actually beautiful to see your journey. And as you said, it can only be God. And as you said, it seems as if you're being equipped each and every time with what you needed for the next phase.
Yeah. And I think the moral of the story for people that are looking at getting into the entertainment industry is never think that you're too big for any job or for any role, because that job or that role that you start with could be the one that opens up the door for your next role, right? You might be an artist, but don't be afraid to write music for other people, because it could be a song that you write for somebody else that you don't record that gets you started. You might want to be a DJ. Don't think, don't overlook maybe being an MC, or don't even, help carry the DJ's bags. And by hanging out with a DJ, you might meet people that might give you an opportunity to do something else.
Never be too big. Yes, and yes.
Never be too big for anybody.
No, that's 100%. I know, isn't that powerful? And I hope that should become a hashtag, in fact. Um, but Mr. Sipo, before we continue, I'd just like to go to the next other two guests as well,
Sure,
and then I'm going to
sure.
explore putting everyone in one room from there. So
Cool.
thank you for that. And next up, I would like just to invite Rain to come through. And she's coming, and there we go. Hi, Rain. You're on mute.
Hi,
Hello. Hey, Rain. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We're all good. All good. I just wanted to have a bit of one-on-one time with you before we all start engaging. Rain
Okay.
Jasmine. So,
Yeah.
as I explained earlier to anyone who's watching, everyone who's on this panel experienced music in a different space. Rain is someone that she's definitely, she actually does a lot more than it's not. Yeah, she does quite a bit, and we're
Yeah.
going to get into that actually. So maybe Rain, let's actually start with were you, so was acting the first thing that you started with out of interest?
If you're gonna start from way back, I
Let's go
did.
way back. We've got 2 hours.
My my dad actually used to do music.
Okay.
So I was born in a space where my dads are always in the backyard
Hmm.
recording music, and this is like with Kuligan and Calabash, with Rocky, with Maskiri, like back in the days. I was
Okay.
really still young. So I guess
Hmm.
I got introduced in the music scene early.
Aha. So it was in the DNA. Clearly, it was from.
So I actually grew up saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be the next Madonna in Zim."
Uh, hey.
But then,
Nice.
obviously, growing up, you find other interests, and that's when acting for me came in. In high school, I was the
Okay.
drama student. I was winning trophies for my school, like being
Yes.
the actress from Majingo province, and I was like, yeah, I want to do acting. This is
Love it.
what I want to do. And then I finished high school. I got employed at Charles Austin Theatre, and
Hmm.
I'm seeing the acting, and it's good, but I'm
Yes.
seeing the people behind the acting, and it's better. And I'm like,
Aha.
I want to be the person that teaches people to act. I want to be the person that's behind the lighting, that's behind the theme, the script writing.
Aha.
So I then shifted and then went behind the scenes. That's how I
Okay.
started line producing for films. So I
Lovely.
started doing PR work, logistics for films and for
Okay.
theater work.
So
Before,
before you go into, so when you say you're doing PR so you're doing PR public relations. So that
right?
means your job was to, so if a movie was coming out, your job was then to publicize, to make sure people are aware that there's this movie happening.
But
Of which
also,
we should touch on your new movie as well. That just came. We can touch on that also. But but yes, okay, yes. So
yeah,
PR.
so when I say line producing, it does involve PR, and it involves like logistics from casting, from equipment, from locations, from wardrobe, because I wanted to do
Log-
everything, you know.
Logistical. That's a lot.
So then now when you see you can't do like 15 movies in a year. And to
True.
me it's like, okay, so how am I gonna be more involved? Yes, movies is my passion. That's where, my family, and when I say my family, the people that then put me into film, that's
Hmm.
what I know. But then when I then moved to Harare, I was like,
Yes.
I want to do videos. I want to do
Okay.
music videos. So not just
Yes.
the movie, but it's 3 minutes. I want to do, I want to be able to do that. And that's when I started saying I'm a PR, because you would find
Yes.
that a lot of artists wouldn't have the logistics to it. They'll just say, I'll shoot a video, but then from where to get the money, the wardrobe, the
Yes.
makeup, the whatnot, somebody has
Yes.
to be on the ground so that the artist
Uh-huh.
can breathe and then come on set. So I wanted to be that person to put the artist on that spotlight to say, let me do the
Hmm.
dirty work and let you shine.
So that's beautiful. So I mean, that's the, as I said, there's quite a few things you do. You very much, it's evident that you have an entrepreneurial spirit, because you definitely, as in, I could see your hands have been in a lot of different places. So at that point, so you saw a gap basically, and you're like, you know what? Let the creators be the creators, and I will do everything. I will handle the stuff you don't handle. And
Right.
predominantly, that's been in Zimbabwe. Is it
Yeah.
is it just in Harare? Is it just in Bulawayo? Is it where would you predominantly would you say your work has been
Mhm.
got you located?
Harare and Mashingo.
Okay,
Harare, Mashingo, but now it's now spreading to Zimbabwe.
beautiful. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's dope. So Zimbabwe takeover, and then you've worked with quite a few artists in Zim, as in, and we can name a few. But your latest project, where you're a line manager on, would you like to introduce the latest project that was just released?
Gonare the movie.
Mm-hmm. And
Gonare,
how has how's the reception been? Just out of interest, as in, was that one of the craziest movies you've done, or talk to me?
I was in the Sango, in the Bundu, in the wild for 3 months. I didn't know
Yeah,
the internet. I didn't know it was crazy.
yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
the response is amazing. The fact that people are appreciating that these are Zimbabwean features, Zimbabwean actors,
Yes,
Zimbabwean songs, Zimbabwean
yes,
patience, topography, and Zimbabwean language. It's
yes.
amazing. People came through for the premiere. We did the premiere in 3 cities first, and people
Nice.
came through, and it's like, you guys are coming in to watch a movie?
Yeah.
Shout out to
That's amazing. No, for
you.
real. I mean, it's about time. I always feel that we, just in general, Africa in general has become the new cool. I feel like because we've got we've got this pot of untold stories yet that are yet to be told in our languages, the way we express and talk. So it's new for the rest of the world. So, and I really feel that's why a lot of the world's eye is been on us. So, I mean, that's fantastic and exciting. So going back to the music space of it, because I know, and the music business. So would you say predominantly in terms of the services you are offering? So you broke it down. You did PR,
Mhm.
but it sounded like you also assisted in sourcing of funds. For in some cases, you were able to find, I guess, sponsorship.
Right.
Getting sponsorship. You were behind. Were you actually behind the camera yourself, or you had a production crew?
So I used to be a photographer for a year. I was actually ND Murizo's photographer for some time. So yes, I used to be behind the camera. I used to be behind the lighting.
Ah,
But then, I work with a crew known as Pictures. They are my brothers. We are all from Mashingo, and they
nice.
then come in as the crew members that have all the equipment. We give each other responsibilities. You focus on the lighting, you
Hmm.
focus on the sound, so that I just don't do one thing, or one person just doesn't focus on just one thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think I do want to get into a bit later in terms of your experience within in that space specifically, where you're behind the scenes, you're more behind the scenes, and your experience is being behind the scenes as well, and in doing those functions in Zimbabwe as well. It would be very interesting to hear that. But before we get into that, I do want to just introduce our last guest for today.
Yeah.
Um, I would like to bring forward Madame Tammy Moyo.
Hi.
Good evening. Good evening. How are you?
Good, thanks. How are you?
Nice, nice. Good to be connecting again. We
Yes,
we keep on bumping
finally.
into each other.
Awesome.
Now, awesomeness. Thank you for making the time and for being part of this conversation.
Thank
You
you so
know,
much for having me.
I guess you've heard a bit from our other guests. We've got a label exec. We've got an entrepreneur in terms of production and logistics and other agency services. And with you, I really want to talk about the experience of being a Zimbabwean artist, a Zimbabwean female artist as well, as in because also that there might be different experiences through that. So, but let's start with the music. Let's go to when were you certain that this is my calling? That I'm doing this because music is a commitment.
Yeah.
and,
True.
and when you go in, you have to go fully in. It's something you can't go half-hearted in. So I'm wondering, at what point were you just like, you know what, I'm doing this?
All right. So I started my journey when I was 7 years old. Yeah, my parents kind of discovered that I had something going on there.
Okay.
So I started singing in the senior choir when I was a junior at school.
Okay. So
And
you
then,
didn't even you didn't even you leveled it, you hit a whole phase up. You didn't even start there. Okay.
yeah, I skated my way through the system, but yeah.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so they picked me to sing in the senior choir when I was a junior. And from then
Okay.
onwards, I started doing events here at home.
Mhm.
My very first performance was at Celebration Church, and at the time, the audience
Okay.
was quite huge. It was happening. And
Yeah.
then
And
from then
wait,
on,
how old are you, would you say, when you with your first performance? Because I'm sure that was quite nerve-wracking.
7.
Oh wait, this is still at age 7. This is
Yes.
all okay. So age 7 was when you had your first live performance at Celebration, and
Yes.
I know how big Celebration Church is. And
Yes.
as a child, it must have been a lot bigger.
It was scary.
It must have been.
Yeah, I remember being up on stage and not understanding the reactions I was getting within the crowd. There were people
Yes.
crying, there were people
Hey.
celebrating, clapping,
Uh-huh.
and at the time I was just like, "Oh, okay, great. What's next? I just want to go have a snack right now. I'm 7 years
Yeah.
old."
What am I doing right now? I just want to play.
But yeah, that happened, and then I got to travel, got to do a lot more gigs. Haifa, Nama, you name it. Haifa is one of the biggest festivals here at home and in Africa. I think it's the third biggest festival in Africa, if I'm not mistaken. And I then went on to do more events. I remember opening for Joe Thomas when I was 10.
Hey,
When he, yes.
it's insane.
Yeah. I remember also sharing the stage with Oliver Mutukudzi, Dudu Manenga, Prudence Katumeni, some of the biggest names in the country, legendary people, if I must say. I was 13. I went on to release my first project, which was called Celebrate Your Life. It had 2 singles on it, Party Time and Celebrate Your Life. And at the time, I was then named the Childline Ambassador for Childline.
Super.
But
And at this point, were you still, it's just like out of interest, was the name still Tammy Moyo at this point? Has it always been? So it was your full name. It was a full name there at that point.
Yes, it was my full name.
Okay.
And then that happened when I was 16. I released another single which was called Sango. And that did well on radio here at home.
Yes.
And then I moved on to release my first album, which was called The 18th Roller Coaster. And that is the time in 2016 when I realized that this is my calling. So all these years, I just been doing.
That's the I would have thought by 10 you would have been like, you know what, I'm in it. So you're saying it was 2016 is when you said I'm fully in now. This is it.
Yes. I remember thinking to myself, this is what I want to do. This is what I love. This is my gifting. This is my calling. I'm a Christian. This is where my path is. So I started to release my first album, which is called The 18th Roller Coaster. That's where you find one of my cool songs. And I had a lot of people saying, "Ooh, who's this girl? Where are you from? We want to know about her." And that kind of created the hype. And then from then onwards, I began to release singles, Beautiful Ndojandiri, with some of Zim's best and finest, from Takura, Don, to Nati O. We did a song called Lay Down. And here we are today in 2020.
2020.
one of my biggest collaborations with Joe Fraser. Shout out.
Yes, and yes. I mean, that was recent. That release is
Yes.
recent. That was like, we're talking a month or two.
Yes, a month.
Beautiful. Okay, so throughout your journey, now, like, as I said, our two other panelists are very much on. It's almost like they're on two sides. You guys are on two sides, and you're on the artist side now. In terms of, when I say two sides, as in you're the one who'd be relying on the services from either the likes of a label, from the likes of Rain, but how have you? Because you've been servicing yourself as an independent.
Yes.
So you're not signed to a label. You're independent.
No.
And that's why it's been almost, to be honest, it's been self-funded. You guys have, I guess you've been funding your own projects. There's been no support from the likes of a label or anything like that.
Yes.
And especially in Zimbabwe, how has that experience been? How has that experience been, being an independent act in Zimbabwe? Is it I would like you just to be transparent. Is it tough? Is it, let's unpack this.
All right. So, world over, just being an independent artist is quite difficult. It's quite challenging. There's a lot of work that goes in there that, the role of a label would make life easier for an artist like me. The role of the likes of Rain would make life a whole lot easier for people like me. Being an independent artist requires a lot of sacrifice from from your time to your resources to your networking. You have to have strong networking skills, strong people skills, because the job is dependent on you to get you to the next step. There's no crybabying out here.
There's no one to cry to, even. Even if you want to.
Yeah, it's a lot of doing the work on your own and, gathering up the strength. It's not easy. And sometimes it can work to your disadvantage, because the importance of a team is that everybody specializes in one thing or another. And sometimes it takes away from your creative energy, because you're trying to attend a meeting, you're trying to write a script for a video, you're trying to write a song. And you're trying to prepare for a performance. You're also trying to network with the next person so that you were in the right place at the right time. So it takes away a lot of your time and your energy. And, even your mental space as well is challenged for a little bit there. You have to stretch yourself a whole lot in order for you to survive as an independent artist. But I promise you, the benefits of this are great. It's brilliant. I mean, your rewards are yours entirely. The credit for everything that you do is yours entirely. Even when we talk remuneration, it's yours.
It's yours, 100%.
It's just a constant journey of injecting whatever you make from the last project into the next project, until you get to a point where you feel, you have enough negotiation power to sit at a certain table with, these big labels or these important people and say, look, you know what? I've walked this journey on my own. What are you offering? What you can do,
your point of view is one which I don't think a lot of creators has that point of view, where they say, well, what you're saying is basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to invest in myself. I'm going to build value for myself. And then when you feel, and when you're at whatever point when you feel like I'm ready now, that's when now you want to knock on the label's door and be like, this is what I have to bring to the table. And then if we work together, what do you have to bring to the table? That's a better position to be in, rather than trying to approach a label just off the bat from when you were 10.
Don't get me wrong, I did try. But one of the challenges also is that I'm very young. At the time when I was knocking on doors, I think I was 13, 14. Yeah. And always, the mentality here at home is quite different. I think those who are the panel can understand what I'm saying.
Yeah,
The
we'll test that.
mentality is that, you know, you're too young to pursue this career. You're not ready for the kind of pressure that comes with it. You cannot handle it. And besides, focus on your studies, you know, which is very important. But there's still a need to educate our society on the importance of nurturing a gift outside of studies as well, sporting, musicians like myself. So that's been quite tough. I knock on doors, labels, corporate, and the response is, you know, you're so young. Maybe come back in 5 years when you were 18, or you know, you're a female as well. You know, how are you going to compete with the males in the industry, because they're doing it? It's a male dominated industry. I think, you know, especially, you know. So it's tough. It's tough. I have knocked on quite a lot of doors, but I had to come to a point where I said, look, you know what? I'm gonna trust in my calling. I'm gonna trust in whatever is around me. So I started using the small things that were, you know, at my disposal at the time.
Yes.
You know, from a small phone, a tiny phone without a front camera.
Yeah. Hey, we all have to start from somewhere. It's allowed.
Yeah.
It's allowed. Hey, it's allowed. That phone. Yeah.
To a guitar with like 2 strings.
It's the hustle.
Yeah. It's been a hustle.
No, but as you're saying, it does pay off. And I think one of the things which, from what you shared today, which is very fortunate, is that it seems that you'd had the support of your family from an early age. Whereas, as you know, a lot of, well, maybe not even just say Zim or African, I think a lot of parents in general, when it comes to the creative space, especially with their children, sometimes it seems as if it's not a viable career option, because I guess they don't understand the business of it, of which I think a lot of people don't understand the business of it. And then, okay, so just before we start bringing in everyone so we can really engage, as an independent artist, so are there any, let me say, key things that you've realized that through your journey, that as an independent, things that you need as an independent in order to like to progress in your career? Are there like few key things that you would say, like, yeah, these are things that like are a must almost if you're running your own thing, you know, because you have to be organized, you need to have your stuff in order. So are there any key things that you can highlight?
Yeah, I think I did highlight a few things in the beginning, but the most important thing for me is the vision. The clarity on your vision. What do you want to achieve? Because now the responsibility is on you to convince the next person that, you know, if you don't believe in what you're doing, you cannot knock on the door and expect them to believe in something that you don't believe in.
Correct.
So clarity, write down what you are about. Be intentional from the jump. Use whatever resources are within your disposal. Like I said, it's very important, because nobody starts with everything they need in this journey. I've never met anybody like that, unless you're fortunate enough to come from a family that's well-to-do, and even still in that situation, you find you still lack a lot of things. So the vision, clarity on what you're doing, people skills, a lot of it.
You mentioned networking a few times.
Yeah, you have to be in the right place at the right time. And like Mr. Dlamini said, you are never too big for any job. Trust me. I used to perform in a small bar called Big and a cafe. I won't tell you how old I was.
The place might get raided and shut down. But no.
You have to be, I understand that this term has been used and abused so many times, the word exposure, but if used in you know, in the right context, it's important. It's very necessary. Sometimes you're going to have to show up for a free event. I've done that.
I've
done that.
You paid your dues.
The benefit is not always monetary, but more so your network. Network can determine net worth. I don't know if you've heard that before.
Yeah,
So you
it's a real thing.
Skills, You know, you don't go to war without enough, you know, power for it, be your guns or
Mm,
whatever, your bow and your arrow. Just you need to move around with your work.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. You have to stay
I
ready. You
understand
have to stay
the
ready.
digital era now, so it's much easier to just email someone, but it's important to move around with a card if you can, your business card, your bio,
Mm-hmm.
um, your press kit, very
Nice,
important.
nice.
Just make sure. Nowadays we have the access of technology at
Mm-hmm.
our tips, you know, tips of our fingers, so we can easily, you know, create those things for ourselves. Young people, yeah, we know how to use the internet, so be researching, get your stuff together, your music,
Mm,
your pictures, if you can, and if you
yes.
have pictures, get your press kit together, move around with it. You never know who you meet, and
Mm,
when you meet them, stay
true,
ready.
true. Stay ready,
Ready.
24/7. Stay ready.
Opportunity favors the prepared.
Amen.
Uh, Opportunity favors the prepared. Tomorrow you could get the biggest call of your life to say, "Hey, come open for Beyonce." Are you prepared for that?
Are you ready for such? Are you ready?
Yeah,
So
and
you have to stay ready. Yes.
yeah, and the other thing is sacrifice as well. I did mention
Yes.
that even in terms of funding,
Mm,
invest in yourself a whole lot. If you make enough money for one project, from one project or one performance or one appearance, whatever it is, inject it into the next important thing. Let it
mm,
be a recording or a video. Save up.
yes.
I know it's quite tough, especially here at home, because you're saving up for so much more than just, you know, your art. We're talking living expenses, all of that. But that's the journey. It's painful. It's not easy.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm there. I still do that. So a lot of sacrificing on my part. Means you selling your
Yes.
beautiful iPhone, or you sacrifice your car,
Hey.
or you know, just whatever 9 to 5 job you have, you set aside 50% of your savings. It's important. Sacrifice is a
Yes.
big part of the journey.
No, beautiful. And those are definitely key things. So I would like to ask to bring everyone back into the room, but whilst everyone is coming in, um, just specifically, I wanted to ask you about resources.
Hmm.
What kind of, you did mention resources. When you say resources as an independent artist, what are the resources that you need, you know?
Well, for an artist, there is the visual, then there is the audio aspect of it.
Hmm.
Uh, there is the business aspect of it as well.
Yes.
Raymond and social media's roles in my life. Um, yeah, you need to, like I
Okay.
said, you need to stay networked. You need to connect with fashion designers. You need to connect with producers. You need to knock on corporate doors for you to get financing.
Mm, mm. Did you freeze there? Is everyone else there? Okay. Hello?
Ultimately,
Oh,
it comes down
okay.
to financing. I mean, once you have the finances, you can access anything and everything that you want and need. Finances,
Mm.
styling, somebody to sell. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a
Hey,
lot.
production costs as well. Those are the resources I'm talking about. And that all comes down to you as an independent. How good are you at networking? It still comes down to
Mm,
that. How good are you? You're gonna talk to Zim's best producer and say, hey, look, you know what? I can jump on this, you know, this project of yours in exchange for, you know, a track of mine or whatever. That's
mm,
how we are basically doing it here in Zim. Until you have enough funding, until you knock on corporate doors and they see your value, and they want to partner with you, and they'll say, "Hey, look, we'll invest in your project for this much in exchange for ambassadorship or
mm.
you know, endorsement of our product." that's basically how you do it as an independent until one day Mr. Shamini will knock on your door and say, "Hey, girl, you want to join us?"
Amen.
Just check your door. Just check your door.
Yeah.
There's somebody knocking right now.
No, super. Thanks for that, Tommy. So, so thank you for everyone back in the room. And I was just right now just talking to Tommy about resource, and I feel that often in the music space, people don't realize the resources that are required in order to have a career in the music space. A lot of people, I think, because of it's actually become easy to make music, where people have lost value in the resource and the investment that you actually have to make. Someone thinks that they can just download a program, make a song, put it out, and it's as easy as that, and you have a chance to have a hit record, but it doesn't necessarily work like that. So maybe I'd like to start with just Sipo to start with terms of what are the kind of resources that a label, and obviously we can even talk about the kind of criteria at some point, but what are the resources a label would offer when it comes to resources to an artist?
Yeah. So I mean, first of all, I just want to say both Rain and Tommy are amazing. I've had the honor of and the pleasure of meeting Tommy. Such an amazing, super talented, and I really hope that we can work together sometime in the near future. But in terms of resources, I think that there are a variety of resources that record labels provide. But I must also say that, as Tommy has shown, you shouldn't wait and expect somebody else to, ride in on a shining horse and put everything on the table. The reality is that there are a lot of things that artists can do. And Tommy is proof of that, and Rain is proof of that as well. But I think where record labels can add value is enhancing the work that an artist does and making it go further. So, for example, Universal Music, we have 65 offices in 65 odd countries in different continents. What it means is that when we release a song or an album, we're able to have multiple regions send out that song to local radio stations, local DSPs, and local TV stations if it's a music video, to give it the opportunity to be played.
Yes.
Now, it's important to be honest and not mislead people. Not everything that gets sent out gets played everywhere at the same time, right?
Correct.
So I don't want to create the impression that when we release a song in South Africa, it automatically gets played on radio in Japan. But as we get better at identifying music that can travel versus music that is for local consumption only, we are seeing that more African content is being consumed globally. We have an artist out of Nigeria called Nonso Bassi. He was in, I think it was Idols Nigeria. He had never been to China, but his song was getting heavy rotation in China. As a result, he was booked to do a show in China, and he went there, and our office was able to support the marketing and promotion of his music, and his song was charting in China. Now, I can't explain how that happened. I can't even, I'd be lying if I try and take the credit and say, oh, we did that, because I don't know what made it get noticed. But the reality is that, record labels and multinational record labels that have a global footprint have more likelihood of getting your music consumed in different markets. And it's important. It's very important to do well at home, but because of technology and the vast digital platforms, it is possible for somebody to make money off their music in different markets and in different currencies that flows back to wherever they are. So you create one song. The beauty of music is that that one song can continue to make you money over and over and over again for the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years. There are some people, Mark Morrison did the song Return of the Mac. Those of you that are old enough to remember that will remember it was a hit in the 90s. I saw recently an ad campaign in the US was using that song Return of the Mac. So, 20 years down the line, that one song is still generating revenue for him. And that's, you know, that's the beauty of music. Coming back to the question around resources, so one is a global footprint that gives reach into different markets. The other is that within a record label, we have a marketing team and a promotions team. We have an A&R team that help create and finish music. They create and help finish how the artist and their talent is presented to the market. They oversee the creation of music videos to make sure that it's relevant, it's trendy, it connects with an audience. We also have other departments. So for example, at Universal, we have a sync department. That department looked at how to get music into TV, into film, into commercials. An example is, I think it was 2018, we were able, out of our office in South Africa, to get 6 songs into the Black Panther movie and Black Panther soundtrack.
Amazing.
Those were African artists, African produced songs and composed songs that, by virtue of having a department whose sole focus it is to look at film, TV, and movie and how to get music into that space, were able to present and get music and movie into that space. As it, you know, currently is, there are a couple of movies that are coming out in early 21 globally, where we are working out of South Africa as Def Jam Africa with Def Jam in the US to put music into specific films, right? So that's another resource that comes from having a sync division. We also have a brands division. Universal's called UMGB, or Universal Music Group Brands. They look at how to coordinate and to collaborate between brands like Unilever, Coca-Cola, MasterCard, South African tourism, or Nigeria or Dubai tourism. And they interact with those entities and either place artist or artist music in that space. An example is, you know, Black Coffee did a campaign with X. Nasty C campaign with X. We have Casper Novest currently doing a campaign with South African tourism and another one with Standard Bank. So those are additional revenue streams outside of performing your music as an artist or waiting for revenue from your streaming that you get as resources from a record label. So that, you know, there are spaces and times where record labels bring value, but there are also spaces and times where an artist who's working independently is able to drive things quicker because they are aware of everything that's happening immediately. So, you know, it is important to be open and transparent about the positives and the negatives on both sides.
Absolutely. So there's a number of things you actually also did mention, but in terms of the resources, it's good to highlight that. So it's not just when it comes to the music, there's teams that are dedicated to supporting the artists, from the marketing and promotion, from the A&R, helping them just, making sure the product is placed in the right places, as well as the actual product is done. You mentioned sampling, radio and television, getting your music out there and the like. And so those are the services that are definitely offered by a label. And with that being said, Rain, I would like to explore from your side now, being you've been offering these services as an independent individual, I feel, in Zimbabwe specifically. Which ones would you say would be the ones that you find most in demand, maybe in Zim? Like which services, as a, because you're not a label, but you do offer certain services. So yeah, which ones would you say would be the most that you find are in demand?
In Zimbabwe, it's definitely radio play. A lot of artists want their music to be played on radio, and this is where I come in to then, you know, make the connection, be the bridge between the radio DJs, the radio producers, and the artists to make sure that their songs are played on radio. Putting songs on like international platforms, like let's say for SA to put songs on Channel O. A lot of and artists find it difficult to, you know, they could send an email, but sometimes it's never really reviewed. So then there has to be like a middle person that's there to help you send through your music, make sure that at least you get, you know, playlisted or you get plugged in to a certain channel that's outside of Zim. So I feel like those are mainly in demand here in Zim.
Okay, and you've managed to become the, I guess, an individual who delivers those services?
I make
Okay.
connections. For me, it's more of connecting with people because when I started, I didn't know anybody. But
Yes.
I took myself to events. I used to do a lot of people just to make sure I create a relationship. And once I made this relationship with the radio people, TV people, I then come to the artist and say, "Hey, I know this guy, and it will be easier for you to work with me so that you can
Hmm.
you can get playlisted, or you can get a gig at a certain event because I know the promoters." So I had to place myself in strategic areas where the
Okay.
artist will need my services.
Excellent. So as I think Tammy mentioned earlier, that your network is your net worth, and I guess that's also you're reiterating that as well. That this entertainment space that we're in is very much about peoples and relations. Actually, that's very important. Um, awesome, Madam Tammy. So we have touched on a few things. So actually, sorry. Before I get into that question, the one thing I did want to touch on with the other two quickly was just in terms of criteria. So, Rain, before we move, um, how do you assess as to whether this is someone that you want to work with? If because I'm sure you could get lots of requests. So, like, what criteria? How do you sift through the people who are just fly by nights and those who are actually like, okay, this is serious business and we're growing something?
I won't lie,
Yeah.
it's a bit difficult because at the starting point, somebody is really serious, somebody is showing work ethic, and you believe and you say, let me invest and let me actually work with this person. And then 3 months down the line, the egos grow too much. And then you have to leave them and get a new artist. So I have basically now said that I first consult you, and
Uh-huh.
in terms of branding, in terms of your knowledge, you're an artist, but it doesn't mean you're just in the studio. So I first consult you, and then when you come back 2 months and you have branded yourself, or if you call me and say, I need help in branding, how do I make myself a person that people will love to see, then I know that you're serious. And
Mhm.
that I work with. But currently, what I'm doing is I'm doing PR for creative culture, which is the management of Popton and Anita. And for me to work with
Mm.
artists that are already under management is it's now easier because they have somebody to put them in line if they
That's
slack.
not your job. That's not your job. Yeah.
So it's no longer my job to then check on people's characters, people's personality. Now it's just, are you up? Let's go work. If we're done working, what happens to you next is not now on my plate.
Mm. Okay. And then you touched on branding, which is that's going to be my follow-up question for Tammy, which is branding. So it's coming just now. But before we get to you, I just wanted to jump on in terms of for a label like Universal, the criteria, because as you said now, it's there's a lot of ways of discovering artists now. It's not it's there's as in especially and not only are there ways of discovering artists, but there's ways you can also assess using data, the likes of data and other information to assess whether this is an artist that you're like, okay, this is someone we can invest in and sign. And what kind of criteria would you say you'd be looking at, Sipo, when it comes to the signing of artists?
So, we still have a lot of old school A&Ring that we do. Very often when we deal with our counterparts in the UK, the US, they always ask for stats, right? So it's like, how many streams are they getting? How many followers on Spotify? What kind of followers do they have on YouTube? And how many followers on Instagram, Twitter, etc. So, right, they look hard into those stats to help them understand how big an artist is before they engage with them.
Yes.
In Africa, we have a problem. And the problem is that we have a lack of accurate data, right? So because of the fact that we don't have, some of the global streaming platforms like Spotify and Apple Music, they're not available across all of Africa. right? I mean, Spotify
Correct.
only currently exists in South Africa. There isn't a Spotify in Nigeria. There isn't one in Zimbabwe, Kenya, other countries. They are planning to launch in early 2021. And there's apparently a large expansion planned across Africa, which is great. But at the moment, they're not in every country. Apple Music this year, I think they're expanding. They're now in 35 countries out of the 54 on the continent. But the experience is not the same in every country. And we have our own barriers to some of those platforms. So we can't rely just on statistics, right? So we still look at the core talent. We go to live venues where artists are performing. We see how they perform. We see how they interact with the audience. There's some artists that have an amazing voice, but they're terrible on stage. You know, they'll get on stage, they'll have their back to the audience, they won't talk to the audience, they won't engage, people don't connect with them, right? We look for those things. We see how an artist carries themselves in interviews. Are they on time? Just basic stuff. Are they on time? Are they polite? Are they professional in how they carry themselves? Are they informed? And are they on, are they focused on telling a specific story, whatever the story is? But are they, do they connect well with an audience? And is the music good? At the end of the day, this is about music. You know, you could look amazing, you could have a great team, but if your music is terrible, then you have a problem, right?
That's a wrap.
So we look at kind of all those things. And in some instances, there are some things that we overlook because we know that we can help. So sometimes there's somebody that's got an amazing talent, but the production on a song might not be right. The songwriting might not be perfect, or there might be something about it that's not finished. But that's part of our job, is to help finish it. So it's not to say that you must come perfect. We can work with artists at different levels, and we know how to enhance and how to bring out the magic in talent. But there are a number of things that we look for, and at any time, it's one of those things that might tell us, okay, well, not this one. You could have a very talented person, but they're rude, or they have a drinking problem, or they just have an inability to be on time and to be professional. And the last thing that you want is to invest a lot of money and you can't get an artist to interviews. You can't get them in front of a camera. You can't get them to a video shoot to shoot a video. So it's, I wouldn't say that there's a strict criteria that we follow and that we tick, but there are a number of things that we look at that help us decide whether or not we're going to work with somebody.
No, awesome. Thank you for that explanation, Sipo. So Tammy, so back to you now, madam. So Rain mentioned branding, which is very important, and as well as that, and Sipo just mentioned a number of things which are also very important when it comes to an artist's career. Now, the music is what you do, but there's more to you than just music, and that's where I like to think of the brand. So, now, with regards to the brand, was it intentional with regards to? So I'm even, as I look at you right now, because I'm looking at myself, and I mean, I could do with a shave and stuff, but like even as you're looking as you are, like everything is like you're on point and it's intentional. So, but in terms of now how you carry yourself, I'd just like to kind of go into, I guess, the importance of understanding yourself as a brand, I guess. Like, even, for example, when did you decide to switch your name to Tammy Moyo now, even? Like, what was that decision and why, even? Like, is that a switch in the brand? You know what I mean? So I just want to delve into that a little bit.
Okay, so like everybody else was mentioning, branding is a very important aspect of the artistry, the life of the creative. Sometimes people don't actually buy into the music. Some people buy into the image.
Yes.
So when you talk branding, you're talking more image, the outlook of everything that you do, from your sleeves to you as a person. How do you carry yourself? And like I said in the beginning, you have to be intentional from the jump. You have to ask yourself crucial questions. Who am I? What am I about? What do I represent? And I only got to that point, like I mentioned, when I was 18.
Okay.
I realized I realized Tamsa is something very difficult to pronounce.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
difficult, but yeah, I needed to connect or be in sync with my higher self. I believe in, connecting with yourself on a much deeper level in order for you to understand this concept of branding. Who are you as a person? What do you represent? And you must know that you carry that with you all the time, all the time.
That's
It becomes
you.
a part of you. So yeah, it's important to understand that even as you brand yourself, it must be your truth. You must try
Yes.
by all means to be as authentic as possible. As an artist, I'll tell you that half the time people expect to see you in stage gear.
Yeah. 24/7.
24/7, and you need to be intentional about how you choose to represent yourself, because most of the time you're supposed to live a life that's close to what people see. It becomes who you are. You cannot run away from it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
so yeah, it's important people buy into that. How clean is your brand as well. I mean, some people prefer to, if their true self, to be scandalous, controversial, live up to it, own it. But
Yeah. Mhm.
own it. If it's
Yeah.
really who you are, I think
Yeah.
branding has a lot to do with authenticity. What is the unique thing that stands out about you? What's the one thing that separates you from the rest? Why do we talk about Michael Jackson because it's not just the music, like you said. When we speak of Michael
Yes.
Jackson, we speak of stage excellence. We speak of the costumes mostly. Till today, we are still trying to level up to that kind of,
Yeah.
standard and branding. So yeah, always be intentional about it. Let it be as close to the truth about who you are. Let it be
Yes.
authentic. Let it represent your truth and your journey. And yeah, because you're gonna have to maintain that. That's why you find artists losing it now, because
Yeah. Yeah.
from the beginning, they were not honest with themselves about who they are, what they
True
represent, what is
colors.
the brand
True
about.
colors eventually come out eventually, I guess. True colors
Yeah,
eventually.
and I'm not
Yeah.
saying that in this run of your journey as an artist, you don't evolve, you don't grow as an artist. But just make sure that it's in alignment with your vision from day one. Just live your truth, and remember always that you represent yourself, and what you're about, how you look tells a lot about your brand. Like the Lamini said, even showing up on time, those things are very important to the brand.
Correct.
Be intentional. Be intentional. Who are you? For me, Tammy,
Tell us.
the
Tell
white
us.
hair.
Talk to us. I see
I've
you.
made
We
the
see
white
you.
hair an intentional thing. What makes you stand out from the rest? You need to
Yes.
think about it on a constant. It's about being different. Innovation sells. I won't lie. Innovation sells. What sets you apart from the rest? So you constantly have to think about that.
That's dope. So, one of the I love the word intentional, because nothing is by accident. And what you also shared is that it also shows that strategy is important. So it's as you said, those moments where you just express how you need to reflect. You kind of need to have that reflection of yourself to actually be true to yourself and say, who am I as a brand? And being able to be honest, authenticity, 100%. Another key word, being authentic to yourself, because eventually you can get tired of acting. So why
Yeah.
not do things that naturally come to you? And
Yeah.
so this has taken time. So since you were 18, that's when for you were like, okay, I'm bringing Tammy Moyo now. And do you feel that a brand is something that is continually evolving, as in from 18-year-old Tammy to Tammy that you are now? Would you feel the brand has even evolved within that space of time?
It has. It has. A brand, at the end of the day, if you're speaking of artists, they're still humans at the end of the day. We experience growth. I can't stay 13 forever. I can't be the same 7-year-old Tammy in 2020 when I'm now 22. yeah, that's a scary thing. I don't know of any human who doesn't experience growth. We all have to grow,
Yes.
But like I'm saying, you constantly need to be in check with yourself to understand where you are at, and to to know what needs to be done for the next stage. It comes
Mm-hmm.
down to you. And always, 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 I pray that it's a true representation of what you're about at the time, because it
Correct.
becomes very difficult once you are living a life, of pretense, and it's
Yeah.
just it's
It's tiring,
difficult.
I'm sure. It's
It gets very
tiring.
tiring and exhausting. So yeah, there's a lot of evolving in there. It's actually very important for a brand to evolve. It's called growth.
Uh-huh. There
You
we
find
go.
I love Beyonce. I'm a big Beyonce fan, and the Beyonce from Destiny's Child is definitely not the Beyonce we see today.
Correct.
Yeah.
She has
Yeah.
grown from a young, fine lady to this power figure, this phenomenal figure. She is now a mother.
Mm,
How has
mm.
she harnessed her power as a female, as a mother, as a performer? More so than just, Destiny's Child, a pop star. You need to think constantly, how do I grow at this point in my life? This requires what is required of me at this stage.
Awesome. And when it comes to and just the last part before I go to the next question, when you evolve as an individual, I'm assuming your music also evolves with it. And uh, that's correct. Is that a correct assumption? Sorry. Yeah.
I think for the most, I'll speak for myself. Yeah.
Mhm,
If
mhm.
you're someone who writes about personal experiences, you find that music is expression. It cannot be confined. You
Mm.
cannot box an artist. And if really and truly it's about expression, you're not going to experience the same thing every day.
Yes.
I believe in speaking my truth and sharing my journey, and being a big part of shaping my society by voicing out what's happening in my society.
Correct.
And for you to be able to capture that, I believe you need to. The music has to come to a point where you evolve. Some days you're gonna have to be mellow, in order for you to express a certain point of view. Maybe there is a crisis in your
Hmm.
area or in your society, and I'm pretty sure you cannot produce a dance track
Yeah.
when you're talking about something that sensitive.
Yeah.
So yeah, the music will definitely evolve with experience. Some people choose to stay within their comfort zone, which is perfectly fine. It works for them. But I believe that art must evolve, and even with time, you find that the trends change, and
Mm.
there's something called relevance.
Yeah.
You constantly need to be up to date and up to speed with what's happening around you. If trap music is the thing, if Zim dancehall is the thing, how can you tap into that without necessarily compromising what you're about?
Okay.
Yeah, you need to constantly think around that. I
Hmm.
am an Afrocentric artist. How do I tap into what's happening without compromising my brand? How do I collaborate with someone like Ja Praiser without giving into, giving myself up in the collaboration? Do you understand?
Hmm.
It goes back still to who you are, and how, in each space, how do you find yourself, and how do you create your relevance without compromising who you are. I don't know if that makes sense.
No. Absolutely, it does make sense. I do understand what you've just said, and sorry, I said that was the last I was going to ask you, but so and one of the things through music, your latest music video with Ja Praiser, was it? So that was shot at Victoria Falls, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Now, even something like that. Now, talk me through this quickly. Was it intentional to shoot it at Victoria Falls to also, like, are you using your music and even the visuals to also put on Zimbabwe, if that makes sense? Because I mean,
I
sometimes, the picture of Zim is not always the best. We hear a lot about Zim, and not all the time do we hear the best things about Zim. So yeah, tell me, was that intentional?
Oh yes, it definitely was. I am Team Zimbabwe all the way from
Mm,
day one. I feel it's my part to represent my people in the best way that I can, either through the music or the visual aspect of production. And to tell the Zimbabwean story, I am a Zimbabwean artist. Nobody's going to tell it better than I can. It's my role and my duty to constantly represent my people. So yeah, you know, we were pushing Victoria Falls, and I'm glad that it's in alignment with domestic tourism, which is a thing right now. It's happening right now. Yeah, that is divine timing. But yeah, I'm all about Team Zimbabwe. Yes, it was intentional. Victoria Falls is absolutely beautiful. If you get the chance, visit. Yeah.
Tell him.
Yeah.
The Zim side, not the other
Yeah,
side.
we really have much, you know, our people feel that there's very little to celebrate. And it's perfectly understandable considering where we are as a nation. There's a lot of growth that needs to happen. And also COVID didn't make that any easier for us. You know, things are a bit tough if I'm to be honest. And some people, you know, most of us need something to look up to. We need hope, something that brings hope and faith to our people. And I've given myself that, you know, that responsibility. I have a part to play in shaping the perception on our country. And I am an ambassador for my country always. I must remember that. So if it's not in the lyrical content, it will definitely be in the visual aspect. I'm proudly Zimbabwean.
I love that. I love that. You know, Munya, sorry, I know the question was for Tommy, but I think the one thing that I've always prided myself in, and that I see you do in the circles that we move around in, is vocally being proud of being Zimbabwean and not hiding it or not making it like a secret amongst the people that you know. Every corner that I'm in, when people ask me where I'm from, or, you know, any chance I get to slip in the fact that I'm from Zimbabwe into a conversation, I do it, because there are so many amazing Zimbabweans all over the world that are doing amazing things. Every day in South Africa, I bump into senior execs at banks, in marketing companies, in different places, and they're Zimbabweans, and I'm proud, you know, when I meet those people. And I think it's important for us to carry that pride wherever we go. It's one of the things about Nigeria that helps Nigerian music travel. I know I'm kind of segueing into a different space, but Nigerians are overtly proud of being Nigerian. And, you know, there are, I think I read that there's something like 3,000 tribes in Nigeria, or more than 3,000 tribes in Nigeria. But if you're in London, you don't find people arguing about what tribe of Nigeria they are. They're just Nigerian. If you're in Greece, they're just Nigerian. If you're in America, and they're proud, and they turn out and they support. We did one global festival with Paulo and them in New York. And it was the first time I had techno performing, and I had Nasty C and Casper in Your Vest. And in New York, it felt like I was in Nigeria. There was like 8,000 people that showed up to watch, you know, the Nigerian artists. And I think if we have that mindset as Zimbabweans, if you happen to be in France and you hear that Tommy's doing something in France, or that Rain is there with some artist and a label doing something, please just turn up and support. Do you know what I mean? Buy that ticket. Go and buy that drink at the bar, because, you know, when companies see that Zimbabweans come out and they support, and they don't drink their alcohol in the car and then come and drink water in the event the whole evening, and they see that you know, if you go to a function or an event with Nigerians, the first area that sells out is the VIP tables. So the bottle service and the tables, moe and all that stuff, it's what sells out first, which is why venues and promoters are happy to do Nigerian shows, because economically it all makes sense. Yet sometimes you go to a show, and like I've seen it in South Africa, everybody will drink in their car outside with their bottles, and then they'll go inside and they're not drinking anything. It's like it doesn't help. It doesn't help, right? So I just wanted to say that it's really important for us to be proudly Zimbabwean, for us to fly the flag wherever we are, and to support each other. Do you know what I mean? If you hear of another artist or a speaker or somebody doing something in your town, please take out your £10 or your £20 or your 50 Rand or whatever it is, buy a ticket and go and support.
That's it. That's all it takes. And I mean, as you're saying, support also can be, especially in this day and age, support is sharing a picture online now as well. Like
Yes,
that kind of like
yes,
support
yes.
is also just even just assisting in creating that exposure. And
Yeah.
yes, whether it's watching a video, it's just taking out a new video, it's sharing that video, it's and
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. So 100% correct. I was actually going to touch on. I see some questions on the comment section. I see one from Kuda Dube. So he's asking, how best can the corporate world engage with artists and not have negative impact on the quality of production? We are tired of jingles, especially in Zimbabwe. Help us. Okay, let me try and understand what the question is saying. How can corporate world engage with artists and not negatively impact on the quality of production? So, for
Yeah.
first and foremost,
I think what he's asking is, I think he's obviously done jingles before, and
yes,
he's trying to find a way of growing beyond just doing jingles. And this is where the importance of an ecosystem kicks in, right? So, for example, the film sector needs music in every
yes,
film, whether it's background music or whether it's the happening tracks of today, they always
correct.
need music. So one of the things, for example, I'd suggest Kuda to do is to find out who in Zimbabwe is busy with film or is busy
Mm-hmm.
with TV series and approach them and give them examples of good music that he can provide. Because very often people that are working on something don't always know who to go to or where to go to find the best quality music, right? So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you have to introduce yourself.
Yes.
Also, I know you're saying jingles, but I mean, TV ads these days have changed from what they used to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are becoming a lot more trendier, are using better music than the old production music that they used to use. But some of them don't know how to access that music because music rights is complicated. So sometimes they use what's available easily rather than looking for more. So I think
Correct.
my advice to Kuda would be try and reach out to as many companies as you can that you know use music or rely on music for what they do. So again, whether it's film, whether it's TV, whether it's TV adverts and commercials, or even recording artists. If you're a producer, don't be afraid to send your songs to an artist and say, "Hey, Tommy, would you like to jump on this track?" Or
Yeah.
can I do a song for you? And if you like it, we can talk. If you don't like it, there's no cost, there's no foul, no harm.
Correct. I don't know with Rain or Tammy, would you like to add on to that?
For me,
Mm.
I would just say that, it's this is we're gonna go back to the whole branding stuff, and I'm going to agree that sometimes you don't have to wait for the corporate to come to you. You have to be a brand enough for them to see value in why they are calling you, and calling you to do jingles or whatever. But for artists, also, I really wish that they could also have the knowledge to just know
Mhm.
that corporate involvement does not just mean doing jingles. There are so many things that you can do as an artist. And when you're a musician, it doesn't mean you are only limited to doing music. So corporates, you could be a fashion icon. There are corporates that work in fashion. So I'm
Mm.
definitely going to agree that it's not just music that you need to focus on. Yes, you are a musician, but you could be something more representing the brand that you have built.
Mhm.
Can I maybe just add to what Rain said because she raised a
Absolutely.
very important point,
Mhm.
and I'll do it by giving an example. There's one of the labels that works at the University of Nigeria called Aristocrat. It's the label that used to
Yes.
produce for Burna Boy,
Burnout.
and they've got a number of other artists. One of the things they did in Nigeria is they were trying to find ways of generating revenue without having to rely on releasing artist rights. So they're looking at brands and how to work with brands and corporates. So they came up with an idea for Uber where they went and presented an idea for Uber to set up a channel in Nigeria on YouTube where they created content for Uber to promote the service in Nigeria. Now, notice there, it's not like Uber went to them and said, hey, we're looking for something to do to connect with an audience. They came up with a solution that used music and they took it to Uber. So sometimes you don't have to wait for somebody to give you a job. You create that job. Do you know what I mean? A bad example, but you have Chicken in Zimbabwe. Why don't you come up with a concept for Chicken Inn and music? You know, whether it's a music festival or whether it's a jingle or whether it's a TV ad that could sit on YouTube to promote Chicken Inn during the festive season. Or, you know, if it's a different brand, there might be a car dealership that sells cars and they don't know how to connect with the youth. Why don't you come up with a concept around a track or a placement of a vehicle in a music video where you're advertising that dealership or that model of car in an artist's music video, and then present that idea to them in order for them to pay you for that, right? So sometimes you have to take the initiative and you have to come up with an idea that can work for a corporate. Don't forget, some of these corporates, they don't know how to talk to the younger audience. Correct. So if you're waiting for them to tell you what they want from you, you'll wait forever. Some of these companies that have people older than me, and I'm old, and these guys, they don't know how to talk to and how to get the attention of the 20 to 30-year-olds. They don't know. So sometimes they need ideas from young, vibrant people that are in the music space or that are in entertainment to come up with ideas.
Absolutely correct. And I mean, music has evolved, and music isn't, as I said earlier, it's not necessarily just about the music, it's the brand. I mean, we're seeing a lot of creative things being done internationally. I mean, with Travis Scott and computer games now, for example, you're seeing that whole association getting placement in games. I think even Burner, as well as what's his name? There's a Zimbabwean artist by the name of Dr. who's actually, one of his songs got featured in the latest FIFA as well. Which is there we go. And I mean, and so. And this is going to lead me into the next part, which I wanted to talk about revenue streams in music, because I think a lot of people in the minds of most people, it's just, I make a song, I put it out, you buy it, I get my money. I mean, obviously that does happen in music, but there's so many other avenues of making money as well in music. And maybe, Tammy, I can start with you in terms of how else do you feel you've managed to generate revenue outside of just selling your music?
Here in Zim, it's a different ballgame altogether. I'd like to believe we still have a lot of growing to do in terms of that, mostly outside of physical selling of physical copies. We have just begun to shift our mindsets towards streaming. It's still a little backward when it comes to generating revenue in that manner, but we're getting there slowly but surely. You find that people are becoming more aware to the idea of selling music on Apple, Spotify, you know, all these online streaming platforms. It just recently became a thing. But outside of that, you find that, you know, performances for us here in Zimbabwe, we have to avail ourselves not only for the reason of visibility, but for that, here at home, we are doing live performances, of which that's been challenged recently by COVID-19. So you find that you have to find other means of making money. And like what's been highlighted for the last 5 minutes, it's a lot of corporate engagement. You have to constantly make sure that your brand is of essence and of value to the corporate world. How do you do that? You constantly have to think around that. How do I develop a concept that's unique enough for them to endorse? And you know, and put money to that idea. You constantly have to think of concepts. You become a content creator somewhere in there,
Yes.
as much as you an artist. So there's a lot of collaborating that needs to happen in terms of corporate engagement. And I'm not saying take every job that comes your way. Once again, it comes back to being intentional. Just make sure that it's in alignment with your brand. If you are gonna be from away, go for it. Go for it. Create ideas. Use your music to create concepts around what they are about. If it's in alignment with that. So I'm here for us. It's mostly that. It's mostly online streaming. It's live performances, and most importantly, because that's where the big bucks rake in from. It's corporate engagement. How do you add value to Coke? How do you partner with Coca-Cola to bring value to their brand, and how do they bring value to you? That's basically how we are making money here.
Awesome. And just moving to Rain. Rain, so you're also a bit in the social media digital space. Can you maybe elaborate a bit more on, so how do you, in terms of when maybe being in the digital space, you also need to be very strategic and intentional as well as to how you post, etc., etc. Do you want to actually, can you delve into a little bit of what you actually do when it comes to digital, and then maybe we can also look at the revenue streams that an artist or creative could generate through online interactions?
So when I say social media marketing, basically we can see that the world is more like going with technology. The world is becoming more digital. So we cannot just rely on radio, on television to push our work, to push our music. So this is where I come in to say, start posting, have a strategic posting where you interact with your fans. Let the fans feel like they know you. Before you even post a song, post a selfie about how your day was. The moment you record song and say, guys, go and listen to my song, they feel like they're going to listen to a friend's song other than just an artist representing the country. So social media is there to then say, I am there with you, you are here with me. What happened if I get sick? You know that I'm sick. You guys are able to send in, your get well soon wishes, and that connection would then bring in an audience that is coming in with genuine love and genuine support because they feel like so they have to. So this is where I come in to say social media is important. Each and every artist should manage their social media properly to make sure also that it captivates the people. It's not just posting. What are you posting? What are you posting on Monday? What are you posting on Tuesday? It has to be captivating enough for me. My favorite person is Kevin Hart, and every Monday I am on his social media. Why? Because he has motivational Mondays. You have to get to that point where somebody actually has to say, it's now 8 a.m. Let me go on Tammy's page because yourself in the gym. So it's not just about music, it's about the brand and what's consisting of the brand, what's surrounding of the brand. It captivates a person to say, I will listen to your music. Social media is important because sometimes you're introduced to the artist by just seeing the image and not even listening to the music. By the time you get to the music, you're already in love. So this is why social media is really, really important to in an artist's life to make sure that they have it all the time on point all the time. But this conversation is a bit difficult. In Zim, it's difficult. I don't want to lie. The people just think I just posted a picture. I can ghost. I can go away for 2 weeks and come back and post another selfie. And
Consistency.
So it's like it's a hard. I feel like Zimbabwe is growing. Zimbabwe is becoming to appreciate, but it's a really hard journey that we had to educate people, and it's not because you meet artists that say, me I popped it back in the day before Facebook. What are you talking about? But then it's like it's evolving. things are
Yeah.
involved.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Very
And
interesting.
if you were to say, Rain, sometimes on posts you see it saying, like for example, I can post something and then under certain people's posts you see it saying paid sponsorship by, and then you can have a brand name. So maybe can we explain what those posts actually mean when you see that on social media, because it happens quite sometimes.
What they mean is now you have become somebody that people love. Whatever you
Uh-huh.
post, your post is getting a lot of likes, a lot of followers. Companies that are digital are seeing this, and they
Yes.
want to associate with the brand to push their product. So this is when
Uh-huh.
you find somebody posting a paid sponsorship from this type of company, because it's either they approached you or you approach them. But either way, you are both adding value to each other. You are pushing the company's product, and you are also getting maybe monetary value, or you are tapping into the company's market to
Mm-hmm.
introduce them to your music now. So it's a balance.
Mutually beneficial.
Mhm.
That's beautiful, and that's very important. So again, it shows the importance of the brand and consistency, being out there, being intentional with regards to how you post, creating almost properties within your brand. So as you said earlier, Kevin Hart does motivational. Maybe Tammy, I don't know who did your makeup, but I can see the way your makeup's on point. Maybe if you did it yourself, maybe you could do Tammy Moyo Mondays with makeup situation. So those are the kind of things that then could attract brands to
Yeah.
you as a brand to want to work with you, and they pay you for that.
Yeah.
Because the first
But
thing is
but but
doing your own makeup, and then the next call you're getting from Revlon saying, "We see you doing your makeup tutorials. Now we want you to do with our product," and that's when the value is being added.
Mm-hmm.
but also it's important, it's important to be consistent and genuine in
Mm-hmm.
your presence on social media, right?
Correct.
Because if you know, I think Ray used example. If you post one post as an artist when you're releasing a single, and then you disappear and don't post anything for a couple of weeks, the people on social media, they don't want to be advertised to, by the way, right?
Correct.
People on social media, they a lot of the times, if it's a ad that doesn't connect with your brand, they notice that and they don't like that, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if, for example, people know that you don't drink alcohol,
Yeah.
then all of a sudden you're posting with a bottle of Hennessy, and it's like, yo, but this guy doesn't drink alcohol, so what's that about? And people know that kind of detail, by the way, right? They
Mm-hmm.
know. So you've got to be consistent and genuine. The people that have the highest followers and the best success are people that allow social media into their normal daily lives, so
Yeah.
that they see the good moments and the bad moments. They see
Mm-hmm.
you looking rough sometimes and looking good, because people
Mm-hmm.
like to know that, okay, Tammy doesn't wake up looking like that. Do you know what I
We're
mean?
humans.
So
Humans.
if
Yeah.
sometimes they see Tammy in sweatpants and a t-shirt chilling, it's like, okay, cool. She's down to earth. She connects to us. And then they know the different sides of Tammy. But if all she posts on social media is the perfect version of her, people will quickly know that, okay, yeah, well, okay, she's trying to make us see only the good side. And you
Yeah.
know, there are people on social media that will even cry when they're having a bad day, just so
Yeah.
that their followers can understand that I also have bad days. I'm a normal person. My life is not perfect all the time.
Yeah.
So it's important that you don't use social media only when you want to sell something or when you want to market something. But
Yes.
if you're a if you're an artist, if you're trying to use social media and try and grow your following, make sure that you embrace social media and think of it as your fan base getting a look at you, right? Not at the you that you pretend you are, but the real you. You know, Billie
Yeah.
Eilish is cool because Billie Eilish doesn't care. Like, she'll be in shorts but that's her. She's in shorts all the time. She's in a t-shirt. She puts dye in her hair, and she's a fun, happy-go-lucky person. That's her. Do you know what I mean? Beyonce is different. What Beyonce does in social media is very different from what other people do, but it works for Beyonce. So you've got to be consistent with who you are and allow people to see the real you.
Correct.
And I always say it's not really about chasing the followers. Oh, I need a lot of followers. It's not about the engagement. You would find that a person with 2,000 followers can sell a show because these are organic followers that come to them and want to buy their music. And a person with 100,000 cannot even sell one ticket. Why? Because it's your mindset that you bring to your pages. So when you bring a mindset to say, I want to engage with the people that are here now, I want them to love what I do, that's when your growth starts to show.
Absolutely. And as we shared, one of the things also I do want to touch on as well is when I was talking about revenue streams for a creative is one of the things that are overlooked is, and I know I've had these conversations before, Tammy is also a songwriter. And, you know, as a creative, you shouldn't also limit yourself just to think being a performing artist is the only way and the like. I mean, if you have been blessed with the skills of songwriting or producing as well, those are also skills that can be utilized, which you can also use to monetize as a creative still. And that's that now we start going into the publishing space. And that's where I know Sipo mentioned earlier with regards to synchronization deals, looking at getting placement in film, television, games, and the like. So songwriting and producing is also a talent which can be exploited, for lack of better words, and you can monetize that skill. So as a creative, you mustn't limit yourself. I'm not too sure if there's any other revenue streams I might have missed on. I don't know, Sipo, by any chance? Is there anything you'd like to add on that?
I mean, you know, I think if you manage your brand well, you'd be surprised how you can generate money. I mean, you could be a musician, but because you present yourself well, you might get paid to be an MC at an event. So, you know, you might be able to branch into other areas that you might not have anticipated you're doing. If you manage your brand well, you could go into merchandise. And it could start with just a very basic t-shirt that you've designed, that you're marketing, but because people connect with your brand, they're happy to go out and buy that t-shirt. Do you know what I mean? I think one of the most powerful things, and I see on the chat, Plot Mako talks about the power of social media. It's you know, technology and digital transformation and social media has really opened up to give people an opportunity to do more than one thing. Right?
Yes.
I know a number of people that work in a bank during the day, but they do merchandise weekends and evening, and it's a successful business. There are people that have a day job, but they offer travel consultancy advice, right? So, you know, to people that want to know where to go when they go to the UK or where to go somewhere else, they help them package information about informal places where they can go to have a good time. So there are a lot of other things that you can branch out to, but you should also try and do things that you're passionate about, right?
Yes.
If your first thought is money, you're likely to make bad decisions because you're desperate for money, right? If you rather take a step back and look at the things that you're passionate about and that excite you, the things that you work on even when you don't get money, and try and turn those into business opportunities. Because when you're waiting for the money to come, you're not going to get despondent and give up because you're passionate about it anyway.
Yes.
You know, in the beginning, you asked about my beginning. I was always passionate about music. So when I was DJing, or when I started DJing, I never started DJing to make money. I DJed because I was always so passionate about music. I used to record songs off radio with a cassette, and I would put together the songs that I knew people wanted to hear at parties, and I would just DJ at my brother's parties or at my friends' parties for free. And as I realized that I had an ability to choose music that people liked, Then I started doing it and making money of it. Then I started getting paid, but it didn't start
There
off
we go.
as something that I was getting paid for. When I started
Mhm.
producing for artists, I wasn't thinking about making money. I enjoyed music and I knew the kind of songs that worked and the songs that didn't work. And I did it because I knew what needed to be done to make something work. Money
Yes.
came afterwards. And I think it's important, you know, if you're an artist or if you're a brand and you're trying to think, how can I make other money? Think about the things that you're passionate about. Think about the things that excite you, or the things that when you see them not being done properly, it bothers you.
Yes.
That's often a sign that that is something that you could do well, because when you see it not being done properly, it annoys you. So, you
Yeah.
know, think of those things as revenue streams rather than just saying, how can I make money today? Because one day you'll
Yeah.
be selling chicken, the next day you'll be selling iPhones, the next day you'll be trying to be a comedian and then a
Yeah.
singer. It'll be a mess.
It's all over the place. And yeah, and then what are you? Then your followers don't know what are you?
Don't know what to follow.
What to follow, and it's absolutely true. So guys, so we've actually got 10 more minutes left. So and it's actually crazy how fast time goes when you're having fun. But I think in terms of before we close tonight, well, actually, I think let's start with some maybe closing remarks, actually, because I think we're getting to that time. But I mean, ultimately, this conversation has been very informative, and just, I mean, the purpose of it was really just to highlight what goes on behind the scenes and the importance of being conscious of that. Because, as I said, a lot of people think it's very easy. They think, I mean, a lot of people, there's entitlement in this industry where they feel labels should sign them. People might be knocking on Stiffer's door and they feel entitled, that's universal, and things like that. It doesn't work like that. And the likes of Tammy has shown that, I mean, someone who's been in the game since the age of 7, for her at an age of 18, that's 11 years later, for you to realize that, okay, wait a second, let me take this, let me develop a brand, let's be more intentional, let's be more strategic. It just shows that, and this is a long-term thing as well. I mean, everyone's story hasn't been an overnight thing. And that's, for me, one of the biggest misconceptions, that they feel that overnight success thing is a real thing. But there's time, money, blood, sweat, tears, which everyone here has spent.
Munya,
Yes,
Munya,
sir.
on that note, can I just tell you, you know, so sometimes I'll be sitting, I'll be sitting in a meeting in New York in the Def Jam boardroom, and somebody say, "Wow, you know, you've done well," and I'll think back to a time when I was DJing in London, and my car broke down, right? So I didn't have a car, and
Okay.
I had to use the bus with my record cases to
Hey.
go to my DJ gig. When I finished playing, I think it was at 2 a.m., I waited for everybody to leave so that they didn't see me. I went out and stood at the bus stop in the rain and caught
Hey.
a bus. I had to catch a bus from, I think it was from Putney. I had to catch a night bus from Putney to Trafalgar Square, wait
Hey.
in Trafalgar Square in the rain, and then catch a 1.5 hour bus to Forest Hill where I live with my record boxes in the
That's what
rain.
people may not understand, that records,
People
you
don't
had to carry that.
understand.
There
You
wasn't
have
a
to,
USB, it wasn't
there
a
was no
hard drive.
USB where you have 1,000 songs on the USB. You were carrying your records
You-
and your CDs.
Ah,
So,
man.
like, you know, putting in the work
Yeah,
is extremely important. And again, being modest enough to do the jobs that other people sometimes
that's
won't
it.
do.
That's it.
Sorry
Getting
for
your hands
interrupting.
dirty. No, no, but we're absolutely on the same point. And Rain as well, someone who's seen opportunities within the industry, someone who initially was standing in front of the camera and saw more opportunity behind the camera. I mean, it's been a fantastic conversation. So yeah, just before we kind of close and wrap up, I just wanted everyone to have closing remarks, and then it'll be a wrap from there. So I guess we can start with let's say ladies first. Super started, so tell me, you can go first.
Well, you know, I just want to say thank you so much for allowing us to have this conversation. Not only did I get to be a part of a conversation that can positively shape my society and those around me, but I got to learn a lot from people who are key stakeholders in this industry as well. So thank you so much for that opportunity. And yeah, I just want to say to young people out here, because I'm, just as young, stay ambitious, stay learning, be willing to be told what to do. Like was mentioned before, you're never too big for any job. Stay ambitious, stay focused. This journey is not easy, like everybody else has mentioned in this conversation. We all have to start from somewhere, and you're not going to have everything you need at every point of this journey. You have to constantly find yourself. You have to constantly find a way out of whatever situation you're in. Stay resilient, be consistent in your journey. Thank you so much to everyone who's part of this panel. I really enjoyed. And here's to more, and here's to growth for Zimbabweans. Shout out. I'm so happy that this panel is, a strong panel of Zimbabweans who are doing so much in their power to shape not only just our community, but the world at large. I'm super proud of that. And I'm happy to have been part of that conversation. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay social distancing during this time. Talk to someone. Mental health is a thing, hey? As an artist, you find that we are constantly the pillar of strength for those around us, but very few of us actually speak and air out whatever it is that we are going through, because our music is the pillar of strength for those around us. So I'm just going to encourage creatives, artists to, speak out on whatever it is that they're going through. You never know who you can help. That is part of the journey. That is part of the story. Even if you want to share through music, mental health is a thing. Let's speak out. Let's support each other. Let's not stereotype. And yeah, be good. Lots of love from me to you. Thank you so much once again.
Yay. Thank you, Madame. And Lady Rain, please do take the stage.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me here. Shout out to the people that made this happen, and shout out to the people that are tuning in and watching. I think my last words would be: believe in yourself, believe in your vision. Whatever genre of music you do, you feel like maybe society doesn't believe in it. You feel like maybe Zimbabweans are not backing you up. But I say always represent who you are, represent where you're from, and people will love good work, whether they want to run away or not. If it's good work, they will love it. So be consistent and continue doing what you guys are doing. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you to the beautiful Tammy. Thank you to the gentleman here. I am so happy to be part of such an amazing panel that is taking Zimbabwe to the next level.
Amen and amen. And last but not least, Mr. Dlamini, sir.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I just want to say thank you very much to Conrad and the team at Zim Achievers Awards for investing in this over so many years. A platform that seeks to connect Zimbabweans around the world, that seeks to profile and showcase some of the dynamic things being done by Zimbabweans in the different sectors that exist. And I think even adapting during COVID year to bring about a summit online is great. So thank you to them. I'd also like to thank a lot of people that influenced my growing up in Zimbabwe and my journey. I remember listening to the radio with Peter Johns on radio with Kudzi.
Hey.
I remember Teach Mataz.
Hey.
I remember Stan Bosch and Circus Nightclub and the legendary nights we had. I remember Otis the Flow playing at Circus. I remember Doc Mbengegwi and Visions in Bulawayo. I remember football players who became music execs like Timon Mabalega. There are so many people. I remember listening to Love Moma Jivana songs and Oliver Mtugudzi, and I think all those people have been a part of the journey that is Zimbabwe. And then there's some young people now that are doing amazing things in different places. You've got Tapa Niswa, who's at Sony Epic Records in London, doing amazing work. You've got other people spread out in different places of the world. And I just want to say thank you to everybody that is flying the flag. My brother, Lutulu Dlamini, also an actor. just it's a proud time for us to embrace being Zimbabwean. And I'd like to encourage the young people that are not sure, that seem to doubt their talent, that seem to have insecurities about what they're trying to do. All I can say is I lean on God for everything that I do. I still make mistakes and far from perfect, but use what works for you. But yeah, thank you very much for everybody that tuned in for this 2 hours. Hope we didn't bore you. And thank you, Munya, for an awesome panel. Thank you, Tommy, and thank you, Rain. It was great sharing this platform with you.
Thank you, and thank you. And with that said, I think I'm ready to shut it down. Thank you all for taking the time. Zim Achievers, thank you so much for the platform, especially on an area which I feel is very much neglected a lot of the time, which is the business side of music. And this is just, I mean, I think we could even go for another 2 hours because I even have I have notes which I could have continued, but it is what it is. But yeah,
it is what it is.
As your favorite Moti, people mentioned shirts, so I just say sometimes know better, do better. That's what we have to do sometimes. So
yeah, I love it.
I want to.
We gotta do. No, thank you all, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to more.
You guys have been amazing. I mean, I'm sure everybody in here has learned a lot. There's a lot that we didn't know behind the scenes. We just watch the show. We see the dancing. We see the hair. We see the makeup. We don't see everything that goes on, behind the scenes to put it all together. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for taking time out to do this. It's been amazing 2 hours for real, and I'm excited to see what sort of feedback comes from this. Like, I want to know if people have been inspired. I can see in the comments people are saying, "Oh, that's an inspirational journey that you're talking." Sipo, your journey is crazy. It's been crazy. I mean, Tammy, people would not have known that you're managing on your own and all that. So it's really great to hear from you guys. Thank you, Rain, for coming through. Amazing background you've got there. I'm at this point, it's end of the first day of the summit, and what a way to wrap it up. You guys, thank you for ending this summit. This is up on ZAA Facebook page. It's up on Zimbo Live. It is also on YouTube, so you can always tap back in. If anybody missed it, they can come through and watch, because I mean this information won't expire. You're still gonna need this at some point. It's still going on tomorrow. Hashtag ZAA Summit for Twitter if you want to follow the conversation. Big shout out to World Remit. Thank you guys for making this happen. Kudu Business Support, High Mount London, Fine and Country. Thank you so much for sponsoring this show. All our panelists from today, we've had 4 excellent sessions. Thank you guys so much from people tuning in from the airport. Some technical glitches, but you still came through. Thank you so much for making the first day a success. I would like to officially close day 1, and we're looking forward to tomorrow. We'll be back up and early at 10 with our first session I think the first session will be on lifestyle, fashion and lifestyle. So that's going to be interesting. And then we'll get some more sessions. We're going to talk film. We're going to talk real estate. We're going to talk conservation and tourism. There's going to be a whole bunch of cool stuff tomorrow. But as of now, from ZAA Global Virtual Summit, I'd like to say good night and see you again tomorrow. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao. Thank you.
Ciao.